Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are based. I'm really happy to welcome you to today's SAP community call. My name is Svea Becker, and I'm part of the SAP community team. And here with me today are Venu and Stephan, and both are talking about the digital process automation with SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management. And before I hand over to both, I would like to invite you, if you have any questions, to use the question and answer tool in Zoom. So when you hover over the bottom of your screen, you should see the black Zoom menu, and there is the Q&A. Here you are able to enter your question throughout the whole presentation, and we will get back to your questions at the end of the call. If you have anything else, you can also use the chat. Here, please make sure that you choose all panelists and attendees so that everyone gets your message. And at the end, you have also the possibility to speak up. So you can raise your hand when you hover over your name, and then we can unmute you so that you can speak up and we have a conversation. That was all from administration side. And now I would like to introduce our two speakers. So we have Stephan here. Stephan is a product manager for SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management, and his focus is on enabling customers, partners, and colleagues on the related services. Stephan has more than 10 years of experience in the business process management domain, and he's also a regular speaker at international conferences like Sapphire, SAP TechEd, ASAC, DSAC, and so on. And welcome, Stephan. And our second speaker is Venu. Venu is also a product manager in SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management, and he has been working with SAP since 2001. And he was in various roles in business process management domain, as well as Stephan. He is an expert advisor of SAP Intelligent BPM. He understands the customer requirements. He enables customers to automate their business processes and make them successful in their digital transformation journey. And also Venu is an expert speaker in SAP events. And yeah, welcome Venu. I'm really happy that you both are here. And I stop talking and hand over to you to start your presentation.
Thanks so much, Svea, for this very nice introduction, and a warm welcome from me. My name is Stephan, as just mentioned. Together with my colleague Venu, we would like to give you an overview on the one hand side regarding the topic of digital process automation with SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management, so a service or service offering which we released in June this year. But of course, we also would like to focus on the new developments, what has happened during the course of summer, if you will, what kind of new features, functionalities, and also what kind of new content. And I think this is one of the most interesting topics here also we have developed and also delivered and can be consumed by you. Having said this, so our idea for this afternoon talk was to give you an introduction, how all fits together, also how workflow management is related to cloud platform, to the extension suite to be more precise. And then my colleague Venu will give you an overview on what's new. And as Venu always do, he will do this in demo, really show you in the tooling, in the product, what's coming here as new functionalities, as new capabilities. In addition to that, of course, we have also some information regarding custom examples, also regarding new live process content packages, and then we would end the call officially, if you will, with a summary, and then of course we are open for any questions you might have. Having said this, so when we take a look at the intelligent enterprise, of course, there are different areas which are coming together to really make an enterprise an intelligent enterprise. On the one hand side, we have different kind of applications combined in the intelligence suite. For example, SAP S/4HANA, the business suite. We have, of course, also the underlying technology platform, so really a solid foundation which you will get with the business technology platform at all. But of course, what we also see, and of course, what we are here for, is really to enable business processes, to enable you as a customer in your company, in your organization, to execute business processes and really provide value during the execution. I think this is one very important goal. And when we talk about business processes and also in the current situation, I think to have really proper defined end-to-end business processes, proper executed end-to-end business processes has become more important than ever. And what I mean with this, I will come to this in a minute. When we talk about business processes, of course, there are the bigger ones. Let's say lead to cash, for example, or recruit to retire, assign to operate, and source to pay. So the big scenarios which we're also taking care of and where we are also providing standard processes within the applications delivered by SAP to really enable you to execute these processes and really make the most out of them. But probably you would also agree with me that this is not everything in a company. Let's say probably 80% of these processes are covered via standard solutions, via standard applications within your company. But think about all the processes, the non-standard workflows also within your company. Could be investment approvals, for example, or capital expenditure approvals, a very interesting example what we see there, or all the processes which have to do with HR activities, make this be vacation requests, for example, onboarding scenarios to ensure, for example, that needed equipment is there for new employees starting at day one. Think about processes when it comes to master data management and so on and so forth. Probably also some of these additional processes are already covered in standards, but sometimes there are extensions needed. Sometimes there is the need also to create something dedicated for specific needs within an organization. And wouldn't it be great to really go this last mile of automation, of digital process automation with the help of digitized workflows? So today we will show you how you can do this, how you can actually achieve this, and also how we support you in doing so, not only with tools, but actually with content. When we take a look at processes, and I think this hasn't changed too much in the course of the last few years. As we had just mentioned, so we know myself, we are in the era of BPM for quite some years now, but of course, processes, they are complex. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And probably also in future processes will be complex. And having complex processes is not a bad thing at all, but you need to be able to really manage this complexity and sometimes also be able to hide probably also this complexity for the end user. On the other hand, what we also see and have also experienced sometimes very rough and very hard during the course of the last few months, that processes are still too manual. So processes are also probably breaking down during these manual activities. And of course, this all leads to errors, to inefficiencies, and at the end costs. And this is also what we would like to improve, really to become more efficient when it comes to business processes, not only the bigger ones, but also the smaller ones, the extensions, the additions, what you would like to do. And when we take a look at the current situation, and here I'm quoting a report from Forrester from April this year, of course, the automation of business processes is nothing new. We are doing this for several years, several decades. But of course, in the past, the automation has really been done to really improve processes, to become more efficient. But what we currently now see, now it becomes more and more important to really digitize processes, to also automate certain steps within the processes, to really become more independent from any circumstances from the outside environment. So what becomes really more important on the one hand side to restore also broken business processes, what we have experienced and still are experiencing, to really come up with a better level with a new quality also of process automation, with workflows, probably also with new technologies like robotic process automation, and really be able to have a kind of a transformation story in the business process domain. When we took now a look how we are supporting this from a product perspective, of course, with the SAP Cloud Platform itself, you have really a solid platform which has been designed and is built for your business. And this platform itself being part of the business technology platform, really stays on two strong legs, if you will. On the one hand side, we have the integration suite, which, by the way, has been ranked also as a leader quite recently by Gartner in the Magic Quadrant there. And on the other hand, we have also the extension suite, and let us go there into more details. So with the extension suite, we are following the aim and giving you the promise to simplify the development of the extensions of your applications. This could be in the area of digital experience. So, of course, the requirements towards the digital experience, the end user experience, they have changed. And we also need to fulfill here the needs, the different needs of our end users, the different persona types what we have there, and really make it more easier also for people to access processes, to work within business processes, to also enhance and accelerate here the acceptance on this. On the other hand, one very important thing is also to increase the developer efficiency, providing model-based environments, for example, with a low or even no code environment, to really make use of a set of tools which you can use really to become more efficient when it comes to development of your extensions. And then, of course, you mentioned in the center, the whole notion of digital process automation. So on the one hand side, workflow management, which we will talk about today, but also leveraging tools, combining tools like intelligent robotic process automation, making use of predefined content, live process content packages. We will also show you what this means and what kind of accelerators you will get with them. And also, for example, think about discovery of processes, think about to really take a closer look, take a deeper diagnosis, what went wrong within your processes, then with the help of process mining capabilities. Having said this, let's now go deeper to the core of our session today, to SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management. So all in all, it's a service offering which enables you to, on the one hand side, to digitize workflows, extend also business processes, automate them, enrich also these workflows, these processes with decision logic. So whenever you have the need to include business rules, any kind of policies, this is the place where you can do this, but also give you possibility to get more insights into the performance of your business processes with the process visibility capability. On the other hand, of course, it's also important, how can the end user really deal with the tasks which are stemming from these workflows, from these automated business processes. Therefore, of course, you can make use of the inbox functionality, but also think about scenarios where you would like to have a kind of a digital assistant, and therefore we are providing an integration, for example, with SAP Conversational AI. So all in all, SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management is combining service offerings which we have had in the market also before, like workflow, like business rules, like process visibility, into one combined offering, and also enhancing this with capabilities to be more flexible when it comes to the creation and the execution of business processes. And what this means, we will come to this also in this session. When we take a closer look at the, let's say, big picture within the SAP landscape, and also what you can do with SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management, probably already what you can see here on this diagram, you can do quite a lot of things when it comes to automation of business processes. As I've said, so in the center of the workflow management service, we have capabilities for workflow management, managing decisions, getting end-to-end process visibility, and also consume the tasks in the My Inbox applications. But of course, that's not all. We are providing here access and also integration to, for example, the business applications, SAP business applications, for example, via REST APIs. And whenever this is not sufficient, so whenever you have the need for the usage of different kind of protocols, or if you want to connect to any other applications, third-party applications, you name them, then of course you can also make easily use of SAP Cloud Platform integration. So really have the combination on the one hand side, the extension suite with workflow management, and on the other hand side, the integration suite. But of course, when we are talking about processes, it's also about end user experience. Therefore, we are also connecting with mobile services, connection with conversational AI, for example, but also it's also important to be open enough to, for example, make use of the results which are coming from process intelligence activities, may this be Celonis or Spotlight, and also make use of content packages so that you are not really forced to start from scratch when it comes to an extension of a business process, when it comes to an automation of a business process. And therefore, we are providing so-called live process content packages in different areas for different scenarios, which you can really make use of as an accelerator for your digital process automation activities. Well, what are the benefits you will gain when using Cloud Platform Workflow Management? On the one hand side, you can do more with less. So this means really free up your employees from manual tasks through the help of process automation. You can, of course, once you have defined such a workflow, such an end-to-end business processes, also be more compliant with any kind of policies. Be also sure that you can have dedicated, clear responsibilities also when it comes to any kind of audits. And foremost, and I think this is really one of the most important areas here, really be able to flexibly adapt your business processes, your extension of processes, your workflows to the new requirements which are coming from the business. So now, what's new actually with Cloud Platform Workflow Management? So when we take a look also what happened since June this year, so in the course of the last 3 months, we have delivered and created a set of new live process content packages. We have providing an integration with the document management service so that you are able also to attach any kind of documents to your workflows. We are providing integration with experience management solutions. I've mentioned before, it's important to get to know regarding the performance of your process, but of course, also it's important to make use of these insights you get and turn them into action to really also probably change if there are any issues. And one very nice thing, just to mention here also, there is also a trial version out for SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management and also so-called Booster, which will help you to set up the landscape to enable the services which are included here just within a few minutes. Having said this, I think now it's a perfect time for a demo to really show you all these enhancements, the news I've just mentioned before in the real system. And therefore, I would like to hand over to Venu. Warm welcome also to you. And please show our audience what kind of new functionalities and capabilities are available now in Cloud Platform Workflow Management.
Please confirm if you are able to see my desktop, Stephan.
Yes, it's there.
All right. So to begin with, I just want to start from what is workflow management, because some of you already experienced cloud platform, workflow, business rules, process visibility, different services. But as Stephan showed you, we brought all these different capabilities under one umbrella called workflow management, which enable you to consume all these different services. And being a cloud platform customer, if you go to your sub account, you would be able to see workflow management. Or if you go to your entitlements, you will be able to see now SAP Cloud Platform Workflow Management, which enable you to consume, as I said, all the different services. And we also provide a out-of-the-box Fiori Launchpad as a SaaS application, which take you through a cockpit where you will be able to see the different tooling, like, for example, my inbox, the process flexibility cockpit, the process workspace. These are productivity tools. And from a developer perspective, how do you manage the content packages, which I will take you through later, and then configure a process visibility scenario. How do you manage your rules? And from a monitoring perspective, the different technical monitoring tools which are relevant purely from a IT admin perspective. So this is a standard Fiori Launchpad offered, coming together with our workflow management. And then the next important, or the interesting aspect is, if you look at, we also now started our content journey together with the workflow management. So if you are new to API Business Hub, please go and type in https api.sap.com, where you search for, or you can directly see under the content type, workflow management, where you can see different process content provided by workflow management from SAP. Some of this content are coming from our LOB solutions, like we have product change management or non-commodity subscription for utilities. These are coming from S4 HANA. And then some of this content are coming from our BPM unit, based on our experience working with the different customers. Like you can see purchase requisition approval and release, maintaining your purchase info record, or even vendor onboarding. So all of these content packages are related to sourcing and procurement. And if you look at each of these such content packages, you can see it involves uh, processes, decisions, and visibility scenario. And together with that, you could also have a look into it, the setup guide, which enable you to understand how you as a customer would be able to consume this content, and what specific business problem it is solving, and how do you set up and configure this in your landscape, right? So with the bare minimum set of configuration, we will enable you to consume this content out of the box. So now what you see here is the different configuration, because this is SAP ECC or ERP related content package, where you manage your purchase requisitions, approvals. That is the reason why you need to integrate with through a cloud connector. And as you know, in SAP ECC, we don't have REST or OData interfaces out of the box to create a purchase requisition. But naturally, we want to provide you the integration content to call different BAPIs exposed by ECC. You can see now the different integration content in our integration content package that enable you to integrate your cloud platform workflow management tenant with SAP ECC, where you can create purchase requisition, and in the workflow, you can get the purchase requisition, you can later release the purchase requisition or update or delete. So all the lifecycle operations related to a purchase requisitions are taken care through the integration model. That means it's more like a plug and play for you from a consumption point of view. So without making any code change, you will be able to consume our content, both the process content and integration content, so that you can digitize or you can automate some of these core processes in cloud platform. So this is a view of API Business Hub. Naturally, it would be interesting to you. Okay, how does this looks like in my cloud platform account? So as I said, we have you have cloud platform cockpit, where you have different tiles, and from the process flexibility cockpit, you would be able to go and see this content now, the different content package. So what you have seen previously, there are different content packages which you saw in API Business Hub. There is an enterprise view of that. You are able to get it here, and this content package you would be able to import and consume. For example, capital expenditure approval process. If I click on it, you can see a similar view what you have seen in API Business Hub, including the different artifacts, the workflow, the rules, and the decisions, and the same setup guide that enable you to import this content. And once you import the content, you can directly go and configure this content. So that means you can see now all the different process variants which I have configured so far, my decisions, also the visibility scenario, including a aggregated view of how my process is functioning as of today, right? So this is a flexibility cockpit or process flexibility cockpit for an LOB expert depends on which LOB you are representing. It could be sourcing and procurement, it could be HR, or it could be finance, depending upon the business scenario, where you are able to see all my different process variants which I have created and deployed in my cloud platform account, and also the related decisions or the business rules and the visibility scenario. And now within this process variants, it enables you to create different variants for different type of investment. For example, if I have my capital expenditure approval for high value investment, then I can create a new variant, or I can take my existing variant, which is active, and it enables me to do simple drag and drop of different process steps. And you can then make simple configurations, so that being an LOB expert, so maybe I take a role of a finance LOB expert, I do not need to understand or need to know about how the implementation of an approval by a local manager or by a group head or by a CFO has done here. And you could also see there are certain differences between these steps, like if it is an initialization step, which is a mandatory step, and you will not be able to change it. But any number of approval steps, for example, if I say, okay, I also need to get an approval from my purchasing director. So I can say approval from purchasing director. So I just add this step as an additional approval step. And then I need to just configure the role name, because based on the role name, we are determining who could be the approver, not only based on the role name, but also based on the value of investment and the different conditions. And once you make such a change, you save and activate your process variant that enable an LOB expert to generate a new workflow, including the new step what I have added to my process variant. And if you look at now, this is our new low-code, no-code tooling, primarily for our LOB experts, so that without much support of the IT, they would be able to configure new process variants or modify existing process variants, and they could directly deploy this into the cloud platform account. Now, what would be interesting is in the process flexibility cockpit, you could also see, apart from the process variants, the different decisions, like, how do I determine the process variants? How do I determine my approvers? So these decisions are embedded in the process flexibility cockpit. And being an LOB expert, I could directly go and see the integrated experience between my processes and decisions with the input, the decision, and the respective policies, which are part of my business rules. So you can see here the due date, the auto approval policy, and if it is a manual approval, I can directly go and see how these decisions are configured in my cloud platform account. So for example, if you look at now, there are certain decisions which are configured here. So based on investment type, a country code, a business unit, and a specific approval step, who could be the approver or who could be the approver group responsible for that, right? So as an LOB expert, then I can modify these decisions so that as and when I am creating new approval steps or new process variants, I am able to manage the decisions appropriately without, again, any support from the IT side. So this is again empowering the LOB expert to do a better job, right? Where time to time, where changes are required in your business processes, and you are able to adapt those changes without much, effort. And an LOB expert would be able to do this without much know-how of the IT side of it. And similarly, now you can see the visibility scenarios where we have an integrated cockpit, which enable you to go to the process visibility dashboard, which gives you a possibility, right, where you can see the different performance indicators, including, all the different open instances currently, which are undergoing different approval steps with some meaningful KPIs. And of course, in a process visibility scenario, you can see, oh, I have 30 different process instances, and I always want to see why they are critical, because that's not a good sign. And of course, you can also see the other different indicators showing, okay, what is the total investment for a given month, and what is how many of them completed without violation, with violation. So these are meaningful performance indicators from a LOB perspective. And now if you deep dive into these instances, you would be able to see a list view of all those instances which are created as part of capital expenditure approval. And then you can also filter those instances based on the different context attribute, or you can do a deep dive into an individual instance. And you can see here the status started on August 18th. Target or the planned due date was 28th, and it's already elapsed 37 days. That's why it is critical and overdue. And you could also see, okay, it is not even progressed from the local manager. That's why it is not really able to move forward. And you, of course, you have a possibility to restart the entire approval and to start from scratch again. So that is why, based on the status of the workflow, you are providing an action. So this is our new insight to action, where if your workflow is doing well, then you do not need to provide an action of a restart. But if your workflow is due and it has already taken so many different days, and then you can define such meaningful action like maybe changing the processor, changing the priority of the task, changing the due date of the task, or even maybe canceling the flow, or you can say, oh, I want to restart my approval, right? So once I trigger the restart of the approval, it is triggering an action, and my action log also shows, oh, it's automatically triggered. But you could also see there is another interesting thing, which is it is notifying a process admin by the system. So what does it mean? Where it is able to evaluate that the performance of the process is not up to date, so that you can also trigger such actions by the system. So here you can see me as a user has restarted this capital expenditure request, but think about use cases where your workflow is failing, or your workflow is suspended, or your workflow has reached a critical status or a risk status. You configure such actions so that it is notifying certain people that, look, there is certain violation has happened or status change has happened, and you trigger a workflow automatically by the system rather than a business user. So that is a insight to action capability, part of workflow management. And now moving back, I think it would be interesting to see each and every KPIs, what you see. You can drill down into these individual blocks and try to see how they are performing, and how many steps they have completed, etc. But beyond that, you also would be interested to know, okay, how can I configure such a business scenario? So that is why we have the integrated visibility scenario, where I can go to the details of my scenario, where we have a kind of a citizen developer or an LOB expert tooling here, where with a few clicks you are able to gain visibility on any business process scenarios. So you can see here there are different ways you can import workflows. Like, for example, for cloud platform workflow, we provide an integrated experience where it provide out of the box visibility. But for other use cases, like if you want to gain visibility on, for example, on Ariba, so in those cases, you could also use an observed process, because the transactional process is running in a different system, and you extract the events from those systems and then gain visibility on a specific process area. Or you could also import a Qualtrics survey, right? Think about where you want to, you have a Qualtrics survey after onboarding your employees, or after completing a purchase requisition, or even delivering an order, and you really want to get the sentiments of the users, or even those users who take part in a business process and provide their feedbacks, so that those sentiments you can bring back into your process visibility dashboard and enable you to analyze this through process visibility. And now, as you know, if you are familiar with the process visibility, if you have multiple participants, you can do a correlation, you can define also phases. And finally, what would be interesting for you, like the actions, what I showed you, where you can see the notify process admin, where when the process status is failed, suspended, overdue, there is a threshold violation and it is critical. It is notifying as a system action and informing through a separate action workflow. And with a simple configuration you can do. And if it is a restart of the approval, you just pass the workflow instance ID only when it is critical, and then it is triggering or basically a new workflow, which canceling the existing instance and recreating the same instance. And then, of course, the process performance indicator, you can pretty easily add it, like, the approvals by business unit. I use a different representation, and also apply different filters, so that, you can see various different performance indicators, especially coming from the LOB side. So that is an integrated experience for an LOB expert where you see all your processes, your decisions, and the visibility scenario. And now I think what also would be interesting to show you, like how we provide maybe let me just refresh this. Sorry, I think too many windows I have opened. Yeah, so now what you see again, this is the same Fiori Launchpad with including some custom application, because I have taken you through the different process content, and you really want to trigger such processes using a UI5 application, or you also want to go through your inbox where all your tasks are available. So you can of course go to your inbox and try to see, okay, how many tasks I have as of now, and then you can slice and dice your task based on the filter condition, etc. But this is the traditional way you come to your inbox, you make your decisions, etc., and completing your task. But in these days, all of us are very familiar with a chatbot. Like in our private life, we have a Alexa at home, or we use Siri, or maybe an OK Google. So similarly, we have a conversational AI-based experience where you can connect your chatbot through your mobile device, and just say a simple hi, like through a natural language. You introduce yourself, your chatbot, and your chatbot is recognizing you, who are you, and then it providing you few actions, like if I select show my task, it gives me the set of tasks where I am responsible, and it also providing me a possibility to do an approval here, right? And once I complete this approval, naturally it is completing the task, and it goes basically removed from the list. But on the other side, I could also understand how my process area is functioning. So I can see which are the business process scenario I am responsible, and then I can select the business process scenario from here, like for example the capital expenditure approval, and then I would be able to see how my business process area is functioning as of today in terms of the number of open instances by status, right? So naturally this would give me an idea about how this business process area is functioning, and if I need to perform any specific actions, etc. You can see now there are on track 207, and one is at critical and 3 are at risk. It's pretty good because the number of risk or at critical are pretty less. But at the same time, it enabled me to navigate to my process visibility workspace so that I can go there and do a deep dive and try to understand how this process area is functioning. So you can see I can directly navigate to my process visibility workspace here, right? And together with that, now you see all my business process area where a new process visibility scenario, and you can see there is only one critical instance, and also we have a integrated the Qualtrics data coming from our Qualtrics tenant, and everything put together in one visibility dashboard. And beyond that, I think some more interesting thing I just want to show you here, like typically if you create a new request for capital expenditure, and this is also would be interesting to know, right? How do I feed this data? So if you are familiar with how can I trigger a capital expenditure request, you being from a finance LOB, maybe you will be getting lots of data from your LOB side, right? And which might be in completely in an unstructured format, maybe in an Excel sheet, maybe via an email or through some file system. And being a finance LOB user, I might need to feed in all the different data, even though we have a very less amount of data here. But of course, typical in a productive scenario, you will end up into lots of data. Now we are talking in terms of digital process automation, and does it really make sense an LOB user sitting and feeding all the data? Think about, like, there are too many requests coming into the central finance LOB, and they really need to process this data. So it doesn't make sense to reserve a person to feed the data in, because you do not need any specific logic. Read your request and from an Excel sheet and type in that. So if you really want to even an automation, I could really show you an interesting way to do this through a simple uh, RPA bot, or a intelligent robotic process automation based bot. So this is an attended bot at my desktop, and it can always pick up data coming from different sources, which is pre-configured. And if I trigger my chatbot, or sorry, my RPA bot, what it does is it is opening the same application what I showed you. It is automatically authenticating, feeding the data, and it is disappearing. So what is happening behind the scene now? It has created a new capital expenditure request based on the data shared through a central file system in my case. But in your case, it could be an Excel, or it could be even, you can read your email, certain email IDs, and you can pull the data and post the data, so that you do not need to deploy your workforce in order to, to do such a data entry jobs. So we are looking for a complete automation where you can accelerate, the speed at which you can complete your processes. Now, moving forward, I think this also would be interesting for you. Okay, what are the other use cases which are available, or the content which are available? I already showed you process, the purchase requisition, approval and release, vendor onboarding, etc. And now there is also an interesting thing is document integration, because document integration is also an integral part of workflow, and we also have now plans to provide an updated version of our capital expenditure approval, where you would be able to see now, just showing you now, some of the new content what we are planning to share, or updated version of our capital expenditure scenario, where we also provide, a better experience. Like, for example, if you look at now for my capital expenditure approval scenario, I also want to include documents. So that is, how do you integrate documents as part of a workflow request? And we are providing you this content as a standard content in the future, so that being a customer, being a partner, you can take this content, you can make even minimal configurations what you want, and then you could deploy the solution, so that the total cost of development, or the total cost of ownership, can be drastically reduced. And here also, some of the interesting capability what we are including is, like, if you look at what is my investment type, you do not need to hard code this. So this is coming from a cloud application integration with the cloud application programming model. So that means you have your underlying data model in SAP cloud application programming model, where you are selecting your data from those simple F4 helps, so that time to time you are able to change your data, so that the application is able to consume it out of the box. And together with that, you can also see now we also enable with standard document integration here, where you can see now I can upload a document and trigger a workflow based on that. So maybe I can take one of the document and attach this document as part of my capital expenditure request, or any document centric scenario, so that these documents also would be part of my workflow, and from different business users would be able to access this document, as and when they receive the workflow task. Similarly, I think we are also planning to provide other templates, some of the interesting template which is planned to release soon. Like, for example, we are also providing a generic document centric approval template, where think about, you have lots of documents from different sources, but you really need a simple approval, and then review of these documents by different users, and finally accept it as an official document in your organization. So you can dynamically define steps like, okay, I want to start from my finance and I want to select an approver, right? For this, you can see it is also integrated with my identity provider. So if I take my colleague Stephan as my finance LOB user here, and then I could also add a voucher. That means once Stephan has completed the job, the voucher would be immediately, able to notify it, and then I can put a due date for this, so that it is also measured, and then I could put a comment here, right? So that is a simple way of defining steps without you modeling a complex workflow. And then maybe as a second step, once you complete, for example, when you want to put it into accounting, and I can select another user here, and then I can select my user, because this is integrated to the identity provider. That is the reason why I'm able to select those users. And if you want, you can put a voucher here, and then you can select a next possible deadline for the accounting side, and then please approve. So I have added those two steps, and now I also integrate a document, because finally we are reviewing and approving a document. So any document I select and upload this document, and later what I do, I would be just send it for approval. So that means the workflow would be automatically triggered, and then it also basically please review and approve as a title. And finally, I say, okay, request for approval. That means it is creating a new workflow in our cloud platform account, and it is sending this document to, for example, to Stephan. I think Stephan would be receiving an email to his email ID because it is retrieving from the identity management, and he would be the first approver going to approve this task. Right. So this way we are planning to provide different process template to you as a customer or a partner, so that you can benefit from this content, and then you would be able to build on top of it, so that with the minimal effort, you are able to automate your processes. So looking at the time, I think I have only maximum 5 more minutes, but you can expect more and more content from us, like not only specific to one LOB application. You can think about gaining transparency to your Ariba purchase requisition, or even maybe the sales orders from S4HANA. How do you keep track of it, etc. So like this, so much of content is coming from us, especially from SAP. Together also with from our partner ecosystem. Being a partner, you could also build such content, and then you could also then publish this content through SAP API Business Hub, where we are also enabling our partner ecosystem to do that. And to show you the last point, okay, how do I model these workflows? How do I model these process steps or the process variants, what I showed you? So you can see now we already integrated our tooling in SAP Business Application Studio, which is in Cloud Foundry. So being a Neo customer, being a WebID customer, you can forget about WebID now. You do not need this anymore, where you have an integrated experience through SAP Business Application Studio, where you can see now how do I model the same workflow. So from an experience perspective, absolutely no difference. And if it is related to approval, if an approval step of my purchase requisition, then you can see as a step we model all the different activities, like determining the approvers, or from where do I determine my approver, and then later I would be getting the approval. I can also have escalations. So all these BPM and artifacts are available as a standard artifacts here, like the gateways, the task, the events, etc. And then you model such steps, and then later you could also define a template based on the steps. So for example, I want to create a template for purchase requisition approval, where I would be consuming this approve, release, and validate line item as the steps, and put some step attributes, also providing a constraint, how many times approval can happen, or approval line item can be used, or releasing the line item. You can see the constraint says only once, because a line item can be released only once. And if I want to validate a line item, you can say 0 to 1, because it is not a mandatory step. So like this, you configure or define process steps, configure a template, and later you can provide a default variant for it. So a default variant is nothing but providing a standard variant, so that as a customer you can either modify this variant using the LOB expert tooling what I showed you, or you can create net new variants based on that. So being a developer, I can model such content, and you can build and deploy such content to your cloud platform account. So once you have all this content available, the next thing what you might be looking is, how can I configure? Let me go to the right tenant so that I can show you. Okay, so you would be able to then package this content, right? So let me now go back to the manage packages application, where you can create new content packages based on the modeled processes, decisions, and workflows, right? So for example, if I take the purchase requisition approval and release, what you can see here, we are able to add different artifacts, like the business rules, where you are able to say, oh, I want to add a process, or even a multi-target application itself, right? Or a visibility scenario. So then you are able to select this, what is you have deployed as a process template, or if it is a rules project, then you can go to the rules project and you can include them. Once you have included, you can save. And if it is publishing, this is as of now for SAP, where you can publish to API Business Hub, or you can export this content as one big content package and share with your LOB. That means you can import this content into other cloud platform tenants so that the LOB users would be able to use the content package which you as a developer has created. So with that, I think we have only 8 more minutes. I think we want to conclude the session and also to spend some time for Q&A. I'm stopping my demo at this point here.
Yeah, thank you. So we have already a lot of questions. The first one would be in the chat from Laura. Is the cockpit also available for trial accounts?
Yes, so this is also available for the trial account, and I forgot to show you the trial part of it. If you go to our cloud platform trial account today, there is a possibility to subscribe to workflow management, and even in trial, we are providing you a better experience where we have an integrated experience where you can use a concept called a booster. So the booster would enable you to subscribe, all the relevant services, and then you can, with a few clicks, your cloud platform account is ready. That means you do not need to assign any predefined role or any predefined destination required for workflow. Everything is taken care through the boosters.
Yes, and that's a quite nice concept. And by the way, you will find also all the information regarding news we have just shared in the community on topic page, digital process automation, and there also a link to this booster, which really enables you to set up your trial landscape with the tooling, which we just showed in a few minutes.
All right, then we can go. So I put the link here in the chat, which you just showed, Stefan. And then we can go to the Q&A. So Venu, Stefan, if you could please open the Q&A window on your own as well and choose, because I think we cannot cover all of those questions the last 5 to 6 minutes. If you can have a look.
Maybe I can read it and say, like it says, do we have a provision for one common inbox across multiple applications like SuccessFactors, customer experience? Yes, I think we plan to provide this. One inbox is planned to release by November. But of course, in the first release, we are planning to provide S/4HANA Cloud Platform, some of the use cases of SuccessFactors, or even maybe some other LOB applications also you could expect. Which application should the customer install have license for getting a common inbox? I think a central inbox or one inbox is a kernel service, and of course it is part of workflow management, but it is classified as a kernel service in cloud platform. And do we have this provision for both internal and external business partners? Of course, you're talking about partners, so you can subscribe workflow management through the partner bundle. It is also available. Do we have filtering and sorting functions in the inbox based on different business applications? Inbox is primarily based on task definitions, so it is not based on a specific business application. But of course, in one inbox, you will be able to see the task based on different business applications like S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, etc. But then later, you can also see an aggregated view of all the tasks where you can then further slice and dice based on task definitions, priority, etc. And then how IRPA can be integrated with the workflow. So today we have an API-based integration. That means from a cloud platform workflow, you can trigger an IRPA bot so that it can perform the task. And later the bot would be able to confirm the job by sending a message back to workflow so that the workflow would be able to continue. So it's purely based on an API level integration. Is the process flexibility cockpit licensed separately? No, it is part of a workflow management. So that means you are able to get all the different capabilities under one license, which is workflow management. How is the capital expenditure approval life insights performance indicators different than the Fiori apps? So the performance indicator of capital expenditure approval, what I showed you, it is very specific to workflow management, where we have a process visibility as a capability. It is integrated with our cloud platform workflow. So we are providing out of the box visibility through a standard Fiori tile. So if you have, which is embedded in a Fiori launchpad, that means being a customer, you are getting a standard Fiori launchpad where all these things are integrated. is this is the only cloud solution, is this only cloud solution or available for solutions which allow extension and enablement of standard tables or customer specific tables? If the solution can be used for on-premise solution or solution which can have customer specific tables. Of course, this workflow management can be used for automating processes or gaining visibility for both on-premise and cloud solution, including third-party systems. And if you want to implement custom tables, you could, of course, use a cloud application programming model where we have the infrastructure and tooling where you can model your data models, you can model the custom CDS views, and then you can also write business logic using cloud application programming model where based on Node.js or Java, but all the data models would be persisted in the underlying HANA service or in the HANA database. Are there any tools available that can scan my current system for digitizing processes? I know Celonis can do process mining, but apart from Celonis, are there any other tools available? So it depends what sort of use cases you are using. SAP is also coming up with a new solution called Spotlight. It is primarily looking at the user interaction pattern and how you can improve the experience for the business users. So that is one possibility apart from Celonis. Together with that, process visibility itself would enable you to understand the bottlenecks and also set certain process performance indicators, try to understand the process parts where you can see where exactly you need a digitization or where exactly you need improvements. So it completely depends, whether you really want to go with the Celonis and to get a complete run, do a mining of your process data for last couple of years, or you could also use process visibility, certain use cases, and then as I said, there is a new solution coming, Spotlight. How to trigger IRPA bots from a workflow instance? As I said, it's purely based on API. And as of today, you can use a client credential flow based invocation. That means you can take the client ID and the secret of IRPA service instance and configure this in your cloud platform account. And then you can trigger RPA bots from workflow. I hope.
Perfect. Yeah, I think you have answered almost all questions. And I think it makes maybe sense that one of you or you both write a post about the call, the content, and maybe you can cover the open questions we still have here because we are now at the top of the hour. So everyone, thank you very much for joining the call. I thank, of course, you, Stephan and Venu, for being speakers here today. It was a pleasure. It's a very big interest in the topic. And the call is recorded and we will publish the recording very soon. And I hope the attendees follow you in SAP community because I have pasted your profile names here in the chat. So please follow Venu, please follow Stephan and keep in contact. And well, thanks very much. Have a good rest of the day and talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.